I need you to find him, and I need you to kill him.
We're talking about the same thing here, killing.
There's a man inside that works for the Wolf's accountant. I'm gonna need you to start right away.
The film opens at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. Agent Vivi DeLay meets with the CIA director and another colleague. They discuss their top priority target, Wolfgang Braun, a dangerous operative known as the Wolf. The man is working with his partner, known as the Albino, to sell weapons to terrorists. Vivi is assigned to take them both down. She asks if an agent is already in the field. His name is Ethan Renner. The scene then moves to a hotel in Paris, where Ethan and fellow agent Yasmin are on a mission to stop the Albino before he finalizes a deal with a Serbian buyer. Ethan eliminated the arms buyers and quickly exchanged a suitcase containing secret codes with the Albino. He was about to deliver the documents to fellow agents waiting in a nearby truck when his phone rang. It reminded him that it was his daughter Zoe's birthday. He rushed to a nearby payphone, but had no change, so he traded his watch to a street vendor for a few coins to call her. Ethan called Zoe but reached only her voicemail. Back at the hotel, the Albino discovered that Yasmin was an undercover agent. He trapped her in an elevator, waited for the doors to close, and then brutally killed her by beheading. Outside, his accomplices ambushed the agents in the truck, sparking a shootout that spread from the hotel lobby onto the street. Ethan sprang into action, taking down one of the attackers before chasing the Albino. Ethan started to weaken, his steps faltering as he chased the Albino. Just as he caught up, he collapsed, but managed to shoot the Albino in the leg. The Albino limped away, and Ethan lost consciousness. He later woke up in a hospital, where the doctor delivered devastating news. He had cancer that had spread to his lungs, and only 3 to 5 months left to live. Ethan returned to his apartment and was surprised to find a family living there. They were refugees in need of shelter. Although Ethan considered forcing them out, he was warned it could lead to his arrest. He briefly pulled a gun, but then decided to let them stay until Jules's eldest daughter gave birth. Ethan called his ex-wife, Tina, while she was out with friends. She was hesitant to talk and didn't want to see him at first, but agreed when he said it was an emergency. They met to sign some will papers, where Ethan revealed he was dying but didn't want Zoe to know. He just wanted to spend time with his daughter. Tina agreed but insisted on one condition: he had to quit his job. Ethan agreed to Tina's condition, and they went together to pick up Zoe from school. The reunion was awkward, as Zoe didn't seem eager to talk to him. Soon after, a well-dressed young man approached and greeted her. Zoe introduced him as Hugh. He was polite to Ethan but appeared cautious and reserved. After Hugh left, Ethan gave Zoe a purple bicycle, thinking it was still her favorite color. Instead of riding with him, she took the subway with her friends, leaving Ethan to drive home alone. On the way, he stopped at a station and unexpectedly ran into Vivi. She mentioned Zoe and returned the watch he had left at the hotel. Then she made him an offer, inviting him to work with her and giving him a job opportunity. Ethan initially refused Vivi's offer, but changed his mind when she mentioned an experimental drug that could save his life. She then gave him a mission to track down and eliminate the wolf. Vivi took him to a hotel to find someone with information about the Albino's accountant. She warned him there would be only one person in the room, but when Ethan entered, he was surprised to find 5 people inside. When no one in the room cooperated, Ethan and Vivi killed the entire group. In the elevator afterward, Ethan said his terms: he would continue the mission only if he was paid $50,000 and given a $1 million life insurance policy. Vivi agreed and administered the experimental drug. In the next scene, the Albino met a mysterious man and handed him a photo of Ethan, instructing him to keep it. Ethan arrived at Tina and Zoe's apartment and heard screaming inside. Fearing for Zoe's safety, he broke down the door and rushed in, only to find she was upset over a bad haircut. Tina was furious because Ethan had promised to cook dinner, but arrived 3 hours late. She told him she was leaving for a business trip to London the next day and planned to hire a babysitter for Zoe. Ethan, however, insisted on taking care of his daughter himself. Soon after, Ethan began feeling dizzy and passed out. He called Vivi, explaining that he was hallucinating. She advised him to drink some vodka to ease the symptoms, and he followed her advice. The next morning, Tina left for her business trip, and Zoe appeared wearing a red wig. When Vivi called, Ethan casually told Zoe that it was just his boss. Zoe set "I Don't Care" by Icona Pop as her ringtone for calls to Ethan. He tried again to convince her to ride the bike he gave her to school, but she chose to walk instead and accidentally dropped her wig along the way. Later, Ethan met Vivi again. She gave him the promised check and reminded him to keep his heart rate under control. She also instructed him to track down a car dealer named Mithat Yilmaz. Ethan arrived at the dealership, insulted Mithat's staff, and knocked them out. He waited calmly in the office until Mithat returned. When Mithat arrived, Ethan threatened his family and forced him to come back to the apartment. Before they could leave, Ethan received a call from Zoe's school asking him to meet with the principal. With no other choice, he shoved Mithat into the trunk and drove off. At the school, the principal informed them that Zoe had hit another student. Zoe explained she did it because the girl was mocking a classmate from Pakistan. Ethan wasn't upset and even thought it was an effective way to stand up to a bully. Meanwhile, noise from the trunk drew attention, and Ethan had to punch Mita to keep him quiet. Upset by Ethan's behavior and his constant coughing, Zoe walked away. Later, she called to apologize and asked him to meet her at her favorite spot, a small amusement park with the flying chairs, her favorite ride. Although Ethan had planned to continue searching for the accountant, he decided to put everything on hold to spend time with his daughter. After the ride, Ethan and Zoe sat down to enjoy some hot chocolate. Zoe mentioned she had a study session with her lab partner at school. After dropping her off, Ethan stopped by a store where a gunman suddenly ambushed him. The attacker opened fire, but Ethan was unharmed, likely protected by a bulletproof vest. A violent fight erupted. The man stabbed Ethan in the neck, but Ethan shot him, and the attacker collapsed, dead. Ethan realized the attacker had a photo of him, confirming he was being targeted. When he got home, he saw a message on Zoe's computer from a friend, saying they would meet at the tattoo gallery. Worried for her safety, Ethan rushed there. At the scene, he noticed a car with Zoe's bag inside. Breaking into the car, he found a flyer with the name of a place called Spider. Ethan went to Mithat's house and asked his twin daughters about Spider. They said it was a party restaurant. He went there and discovered it was actually a loud, crowded nightclub. Inside, he saw Zoe drinking with her friends. Feeling a wave of dizziness, he took a sip of vodka to steady himself. He then quietly followed Zoe and saw 3 men harassing her near the restroom. One of the men's friends tried to intervene, but Ethan quickly took them all down and safely got Zoe out of the nightclub. The next morning, she woke up with no memory of the previous night. Still wearing the same dress, she started getting ready for school, but Ethan gently reminded her not to wear that outfit again. Ethan insisted that Zoe ride her bike to school, but she snapped, saying he had never taught her how. Realizing his mistake, he spent the whole morning helping her learn. As they practiced, passersby smiled and cheered at the father and daughter bonding. Later, Zoe broke down in tears and asked why he had been absent from her life for so long. She admitted she had believed for years that he had another family. Ethan gently reassured her that wasn't true. As Ethan and Zoe spent more time together, she admitted that she had hit the girl at school because the girl was flirting with Hugh. Later, they ran into Hugh just as he was about to walk Zoe to school. At that moment, Ethan saw the accountant, Guido, being escorted across the street. Acting quickly, he threw a tear gas grenade at the transport vehicle, captured Guido, and then blew up the truck to prevent anyone from following them. Ethan brought Guido back to his apartment to exchange the briefcase he had taken earlier for another one containing the activation codes for the explosives controlled by the wolf and the albino. Meanwhile, Zoe called Ethan saying she was cooking dinner for Hugh and needed help with a vegetarian dish. Wanting to assist, Ethan asked Guido to share his mother's famous pasta sauce recipe so he could pass it along to Zoe. That evening, when Ethan returned home, he found that Jules's daughter was in labor. She gave birth to a healthy baby girl and, in gratitude, named the baby after Ethan. Jules said they would be moving out as promised, but Ethan insisted they could stay as long as they wanted. Jules explained, however, that his family wanted a smaller home to be closer to each other. Ethan returned to Zoe's house and learned that Hugh had asked her to the school dance. Zoe was nervous because she didn't know how to dance, so Ethan taught her in the living room. While they practiced, Tina came home and quietly watched, her eyes filling with tears at the touching scene. Later, the three of them shared dinner together like a real family. After the meal, Tina gently encouraged Ethan to tell Zoe about his condition soon. Ethan and Tina spent the night together, taking a step toward rebuilding their relationship. The next morning, Vivi called with urgent news. The albino had been spotted at the Grand Hotel. Ethan rushed there and found the wolf was also present. The two fugitives fled in a car driven by Maitat, and Ethan chased them. He rammed their vehicle several times, finally forcing it off an overpass. Although the wolf and the albino escaped, Ethan let Maitat go, allowing him to return safely to his family. Ethan chased the criminals into the subway station, but began feeling dizzy and developed a nosebleed. As he raised his gun at the wolf, the albino grabbed him and dragged him to the edge of the platform. The wolf urged the albino to kill Ethan, but he hesitated. Summoning his remaining strength, Ethan shoved the albino onto the tracks as a train approached, killing him instantly. Ethan passed out, letting the wolf escape. When he woke, he was at Vivi's place. She reminded him that the wolf had gotten away, but shared good news. The treatment was working. Later, Ethan, Zoe, and Tina met Hugh and his family. Everything seemed fine until Hugh's father introduced his business partner, who turned out to be the wolf. Ethan and the wolf immediately recognized each other, exchanging a tense handshake. Hugh's parents led everyone into an upscale club where Tina sensed something was wrong and realized Ethan was on a mission. Angry and hurt, she accused him of lying, but he denied it. Suddenly, one of the wolf's men opened fire. Ethan quickly reacted, taking down the attackers and eventually cornering the wolf in an elevator. Ethan shot the elevator cable, causing it to crash. Meanwhile, Hugh and Zoe escaped to a private room where they danced and shared their first kiss. Miraculously, the wolf survived and crawled from the wreckage. Ethan found him but weakened, couldn't fire, and dropped his gun. As the wolf reached for it, Vivi appeared and slid the gun back to Ethan, giving him the chance to finally defeat his enemy. Thinking of Tina and Zoe, Ethan couldn't bring himself to shoot, and the gun slipped from his hand. Vivi picked it up and fired, killing the wolf. Sometime later, Ethan was living with Zoe in a peaceful house by the ocean. As he decorated a Christmas tree, something he never thought he would live to do, he spoke with Tina, acknowledging the difficult journey they had faced while affirming that they were doing their best to keep their family together. Tina visited, and Ethan admitted he hadn't always been there for her and Zoe as he should have. Zoe stepped out, smiling, and invited her mom inside while Ethan went to make hot chocolate. Sitting together, Zoe gently asked her mother if Ethan could stay and live with them. Ethan found a box containing a large syringe and a note from Vivi wishing him a Merry Christmas. She had left a dose of the medicine to help him stay alive and be with his family. From a distance, Vivi watched quietly through the window, smiling.